Welcome back to Pensioners Corner. We're here again to bring you important updates on pensions, benefits, and financial changes that directly affect people across the UK. If you are retired, approaching retirement, or helping a loved one manage their finances, the information in this video will be especially important for you. Today's topic is a significant change announced by the Department for Work and Pensions, also known as the DWP. It concerns the £300 winter fuel payment top-up, which for many years has been a lifeline during the colder months. This additional payment was meant to give older households some relief from rising heating bills, but the government has recently confirmed that 4 specific groups of people will not be receiving it this winter. This decision has sparked debate, raised concerns among pensioners, and drawn criticism from charities. In this video, we will carefully break down what the winter fuel payment is, why the government decided on this new approach, which 4 groups are excluded, what the impact could be on families, and finally, what alternative support is still available if you are affected. Please stay with us until the end, because even if this change does not affect you directly, it could impact your friends, relatives, or neighbours. Let's begin by explaining the winter fuel payment. This scheme has existed for decades as one of the UK's main measures to help older people with the cost of heating their homes. Traditionally, it was seen as a universal entitlement for those over state pension age. Payments usually range between £100 and £300, depending on age and living circumstances. In recent years, due to the energy crisis and soaring fuel costs, the government added an extra £300 supplement to support pensioners through tough winters. For many, this top-up made a real difference, helping them keep their homes warm without having to sacrifice other essentials like food or medication. Now, however, the DWP has reversed course. While the original plan was that nearly all pensioners would receive the extra £300 this winter, the government has carried out a review and decided to exclude 4 specific groups. The official reason given is that resources need to be targeted towards those most in need. But charities and advocacy organisations argue this is more about budget cuts than fairness. So, let's look at the 4 groups now excluded from the extra £300 payment. Group 1. Pensioners living abroad in warmer countries. The first group affected are UK pensioners who now live overseas in countries considered to have milder winters. Examples include Spain, Portugal, Cyprus, and Greece. The government argues that because the climate is warmer, there is less need for heating assistance. However, critics say this paints with too broad a brush. Energy prices can still be high abroad, and many British pensioners who worked and contributed to the UK system for decades feel they are being unfairly penalised simply for choosing to retire elsewhere. While it's true that winters in southern Europe are not as cold as in Scotland or northern England, older people living in those regions still face heating costs and other challenges. For those individuals, losing the extra £300 will feel like a broken promise. Group 2. People on certain non-pension benefits. The second excluded group includes people who receive specific benefits but are not yet receiving the state pension itself. In the past, being on certain qualifying benefits was enough to secure the winter fuel payment. Under the new rules, however, the connection to state pension age has been tightened. This means that some claimants of working age benefits or transitional benefits will no longer qualify for the £300 supplement. This change has caused confusion because many people believed they would still be covered. Charities warn that it could leave some low-income households unsupported, even though they too are struggling with rising energy costs. Group 3. New pensioners facing delays. The third group at risk are those who have just reached state pension age but whose pension claims are still being processed. If your pension has not yet been fully approved and active on the system, you may miss out on the £300 this year. This rule has caused frustration because many delays in pension applications are the result of administrative backlogs within the DWP itself. It means that some people could lose out through no fault of their own. The government explains this measure as a way to reduce fraud and errors, ensuring only those with verified pension records receive the payment. But critics argue it unfairly punishes people who are already caught up in bureaucratic delays. Group 4. Pensioners in long-term hospital or care home stays. The fourth group excluded are those who spend extended periods in hospitals or care homes. The DWP says that because heating and basic living costs are already covered in these settings, the extra £300 is not necessary. However, many charities and family advocacy groups have pointed out that people in care settings still face personal costs, and their families often carry hidden financial burdens. By removing support, the government risks placing extra pressure on relatives who are already struggling. For many, this policy feels like it discriminates against some of the most vulnerable older people. Now that we've covered the four excluded groups, let's look at the official reasoning behind the government's decision. The DWP insists that targeting payments makes the system fairer and more sustainable. They argue that money should go directly to those who are heating homes in the UK and who need it most. They also point to the pressures of the national budget, noting that energy support schemes cost billions of pounds in recent years. However, opposition parties and charities argue that these exclusions could create more problems in the long run. Cold homes can lead to worsening health conditions, increased NHS admissions, and greater strain on families. In other words, the short-term savings might lead to higher long-term costs. Let's now think about the impact on pensioners and families. For those losing £300, the difference could be significant. Pensioners on fixed incomes may face impossible choices between heating their homes and buying food or other essentials. Some may reduce the hours they heat their homes, which could increase risks of illnesses like flu or pneumonia. Families may step in to help, but not everyone has relatives who are able to contribute. For isolated pensioners, the situation could be even harder, potentially affecting not only their health but also their mental well-being. Charities like Age UK have warned that we could be heading into a winter health crisis if vulnerable older people are unable to keep warm. But there is still some help available. If you are part of one of the excluded groups, it's important to know your alternatives. While no scheme fully replaces the £300 winter fuel payment, several forms of support may provide relief. The Warm Home Discount. This gives eligible households £150 off their electricity bill. Cold weather payments. If temperatures drop below a certain point for 7 consecutive days, qualifying households can receive £25 for each week of freezing weather. Local council hardship funds. Councils across the UK have access to funds that can help residents in emergency situations. Energy supplier grants. Some energy companies provide additional support for struggling customers, though you need to apply directly. Charity support. Organisations like Age UK and Citizens Advice can help you apply for these schemes and check your eligibility. The key point here is to act early. Don't wait until bills become unmanageable. Contact your energy provider, speak to your council, and explore charity support as soon as possible. So, what should you do next if you're worried about missing out on the £300 winter fuel payment? First, make sure your pension claim is fully active and up to date. Second, check carefully whether your benefits still qualify under the new rules. Third, apply for alternatives like the Warm Home Discount without delay. If you're uncertain, reach out to trusted organisations such as Citizens Advice, Age UK, or the Winter Fuel Payment Helpline for clarification. And finally, spread awareness. Many pensioners are not online and may not be aware of these changes, so sharing accurate information with your community can make a big difference. To conclude, the DWP's decision to exclude 4 groups from the extra £300 winter fuel payment represents a major shift in policy. While the government argues it is about fairness and sustainability, critics see it as cost-cutting that risks pushing vulnerable pensioners into hardship. If you or someone you know is affected, the most important step is to stay informed and take action early. Explore alternatives, confirm your pension and benefit status, and don't hesitate to seek support. Here on Pensioners Corner, we'll continue to monitor these developments and bring you clear, accurate updates. If you found this video useful, please like, subscribe, and tap the notification bell so you never miss important news. And most importantly, share this video with your family, friends, or neighbors who may be affected. Staying informed could make a real difference this winter. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next update from Pensioners Corner.